This is the Untold Italy travel podcast, and you are listening to episode number 178.
Ciao a tutti and benvenuti to Untold Italy, the travel podcast where you go to the towns and villages, mountains and lakes, hills and coastlines of Bella Italia. Each week, your host, Katie Clark, takes you on a journey in search of magical landscapes, history, culture, wine, gelato, and of course, a whole lot of pasta. If you're dreaming of Italy and planning future adventures there, you've come to the right place.
Ciao a tutti, I hope you're all doing well. It looks like things are super busy in Italy with many of you travelling right now. I hope those of you who are on the road are having a wonderful time, and the rest of you, hang in there, it will be your turn soon. Today we are going to cover a style of travel and experience that I truly wish that I had been able to take advantage of when I was younger. Study abroad programs were just starting out when I was at university, and I wasn't really available to many students. These days, it's almost a rite of passage, and I would say the most incredible experience to try if you can. We're going to take a look at studying abroad in Italy from the perspective of a student and her mum. Tyla recently completed 6 months of study in Milan, and she and her mum Barbara are going to share their tips and ideas for parents and students considering a study abroad program in Italy. If you're a regular listener of the podcast, you may recognise Tyla's voice from episode 93, where she joined us to talk about her first travels in Italy and all the adventures that they've inspired since. Wow, so much has happened since we recorded that in 2021 during COVID. Tyla truly embraced the ladolce vita spirit, and these days nothing will stop her from spending time in beautiful Italy. There's so much to tell, but you will have to listen to the very end to hear all about what Tyla is doing now. Welcome back to the Untold Italy podcast, Tyla, and great to have you with us today, Barbara.
Hi. Hi.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to learning more about how you both manage the study abroad program in terms of the excitement, all the challenges, and of course, planning trips around the experience. And as a parent of budding telephiles, I have a feeling this is in my future. And I'm pretty sure there are quite a few people out there as well as parents and grandparents hoping their children decide to study abroad in Italy. But let's take a step back and hear from you, Tyla, about why you wanted to study abroad in Italy. And I know you were excited. Let's hear all about why.
Yeah, no problem. First of all, it's so good to be back, Katie. I love talking about Italy as much as I possibly can. So this is great fun. But in terms of why I wanted to go and study abroad, I'll be completely honest. The only reason I started my degree was to go on exchange, because it was always just something like from a young age, I was like, I want to travel and I want to experience living in different countries and that sort of thing. And I'd lived in Italy previously, like just after high school. And so that kind of experience is what made me really want to go back and to live even more. And so basically after starting my degree, my first week was orientation. My second week, I went straight to the international students office and I was like, right, where can I go? What are my destinations? And with Italy, the only place they had was actually Milan. And I'd only been to Milan like 24 hours previously, so a taste test, but I didn't really know what it would be like to live there and that sort of thing. But no, exchange was always on my mind. And I think just if you're someone who's curious to travel, to learn a different language, to learn about different cultures, and if you have a country that you particularly love or adore, so in my case it's Italy, you know, it's just an amazing opportunity to be able to go and live and really soak up and absorb life in that country.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. And I had a similar story, except I just up and left. But I think in Australia, we have a really strong drive to travel. And I think it's because we're exposed to what's going on in the world and we just want to get out there and see it all. And I think for our American listeners, we've got a lot of them listening, it is a really strong pull for young Australians basically to leave. when they turn 18.
You see them everywhere, everywhere in Europe. They're everywhere.
Exactly. But did you have any concerns, Tyla? Were you worried about anything going to study abroad?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, it's very, easy to get caught up in all the excitement. And in my case, we didn't know that I would be leaving until about 3 months before. So it was all a bit rushed at the end. So we spent, obviously because of COVID, things were delayed and pushed back. So we had this massive waiting time of just kind of twiddling my thumbs and being like, okay, I'll just learn a bit more of the language. I'll learn a bit more about the culture and that sort of thing. Got to the point of like, oh yeah, it'll happen when it happens. And then it was happening. And we had about 3 months and I had to, organise accommodation, get my visas, get my flights, get everything. Still had a bit of doubt in the back of my mind whether or not it would go ahead, but it did. So I think that initial phase was both exciting but quite stressful. And, we were the first kind of group to go overseas after everything as well. So it was a bit like guinea pig kind of testing things out. But in terms of actually being on exchange, I think my biggest concern or fear was that I'd never lived alone previously. So, it's one thing to go from living with a group of people and having that kind of community to then being completely by yourself. And in a foreign country where you don't know anyone. So, when things happen, you don't necessarily have people you can call on or figure out. And I think for my mum, it was very similar concerns in terms of in that, opposite sides of the world sort of thing.
Tyla, how old were you when you did this program when you first came over?
So I went on exchange when I was 21, but I met a lot of people who were like 18, 19. And I was just like, wow, you're very, very brave because I'm 21 and I'm still scared.
Yeah, for sure. And you'd already spent quite a bit of time in Italy before, hadn't you? Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, in that sense, it was great because I was already quite comfortable in the culture and language-wise, I could get around sort of thing. And I definitely felt that when I went back to Italy with my mum just before. It was like, just being on the train, I could understand the announcements and get myself around a bit, but it was still quite an overwhelming experience as it is and that sort of thing. But yeah.
For sure. And Barbara, how did you feel about everything?
Well, I was excited that she chose Italy, of course, because, it's such a defining time of your life in your 20s. And the fact that she had been there before made me very comfortable. But also it was like, look at the adventures she's going to have. They're going to be amazing, getting to know the country on a whole new level as opposed to just travelling through. And it was Milan, where we're limited to. But at the same time, it was like, that's exciting because Milan is, as we found, such a progressive city. I loved Milan more than I ever expected I would. I was so excited for her. To me, it seemed like a short time because it was only one semester. And our background, we've moved around Australia a lot. We've lived in a lot of different places. So for me, moving around was never an issue. Moving to the other side of the world for Tyla, for me, was not an issue. Like you said, a lot of Australians travel. And when I was about the same age, I actually moved to the other side of the country. And that was back when we didn't have internet or email. And I only rang my parents a couple of times a month to check in because phone calls were so expensive. So in that respect, I was just super excited for it. Yes, it's a very, very long flight, but I figured if we put enough things in place for her and she had the confidence to do it, then absolutely go do it. Because many, many other people have done before and will do after. So why not, Tyla? Just go for it.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I mean, I left when I was 18, Australia, and I went to study, I did my whole degree actually in the UK, and this is before internet as well, and phone calls back home were super expensive. It was like, hello, bye, love you.
I'm still alive.
Whereas now it's, you can check in and, you know where people are.
Yeah, we call every day, so there's not a day that goes by that she doesn't know what I'm up to and where I am. So.
Oh, I love it. Yeah, it's really, if there's a problem, you can get help pretty easily, I think, these days. And I reflect on my cousin actually did the same thing. And, people were trying to find her, like there was a family emergency and she was traveling and it was hard. We didn't find her for a while, So I think these days, you do have the backup support of the technology that can really help. But yeah, it is still to move to another country and maybe not speak the language fluently. I think it's such a big undertaking and it just takes a lot of energy. Would you say, Tyla?
Yeah, definitely. It is very much it swings high and low, you've got those moments of, oh my God, I can't believe this is my life. That's the Duomo in Milan or that's the Ponte Vecchio in Florence. It's amazing to the, okay, so what do I do if I get sick? Mum's not going to make me soup. I've got to manage it myself. But it is a very kind of incredible time in your life just because you're in this weird, in between child dependence and responsible adult. So you've got the freedom of an adult, but you don't have the responsibilities. So you're kind of just catching up with friends, going out and traveling on the weekend, exploring all these places. And as Australians being in Europe, for us, it's not a big thing to, go and visit all these countries because everything's so close or to travel a lot, which I'll be completely honest, other, particularly Europeans thought we were crazy. They were like, why are you traveling so much? But we're we've got limited time. We have to make the most of it. You don't realise how big Australia is. So for us, it's quite an adventure, yeah.
It's actually 2 hours flight to the capital city of our state. So it's a 2-day drive from our home. And we've lived remote from our families for Tyla's whole life, really. So that's actually something that probably stands her in good stead because she knows what it's like to create that small network of support around you and know that support's a very long way away if you're relying on family. That's just our lifestyle. Other people have their family members around the corner and so something like that. But we've never had that because we've moved so much around Australia. For Tyla growing up, her grandparents have lived, one lot a 2-day drive away and the other lot a 3-day drive away. So it's very different to if you've grown up with family support in the town. So in that respect, Tyla was a little bit prepared for moving to the other side of the world without, everybody.
And I think I'm just reflecting the difference between your home, Tyla, Townsville and Milan. You couldn't really get that much different, really, could you?
No, it's a bit embarrassing, but in Australia or even in Townsville, it's a bit more regional, remote. So public transport, never used it.
No, you've never been on a bus, have you?
No, I've never been on a bus.
We don't have trains.
No, so going to Milan, the only way you're getting around is metro. So because we were traveling for about 4 weeks beforehand in Switzerland, in Italy, but once we got to Milan, we weren't tourists anymore. We were setting up shop and trying to figure out where the closest grocery stores were and just figuring out my route from my apartment to university and what do you do when there's a public transport strike, because they seem to happen quite a lot in Milan. But yeah, that was all part of the adventure, and now it's 8-9 months later and I've been on all sorts of public transport all across Europe. So things that were challenges or new in the beginning are whatever nowadays so you definitely have experiences and grow up when you're studying abroad.
Absolutely. So, when you got the call, because I remember, because you wrote me an email and you were a little bit sad about it. Katie, I can't work for you anymore because I'm going to Italy. There was a bittersweet moment. It was more sweet than bitter for you.
I figured if anyone was going to support it, it would be you.
Ah, thank you. But so off you were going. So how did you plan? What was your plan when you were going there? Because you didn't have much time. You knew you were going to land in Milan. Let's help some of our listeners out if they're in a similar situation. What did you do?
Yeah, so for us, we went traveling beforehand. So for some people, they flew straight into Milan and just started studying. A lot of people did come and travel beforehand because it was summer. The semester started in September. So we were in Switzerland and then we went into Italy and spent some lovely time in Florence and a week in Verona, went to Bologna, Lake Garda. Lake Como, and then we got to Milan. And so for us, it was like almost two separate things. It was like we were tourists, and in the beginning we were just so excited to be out of the country and back in Europe. I think we heard church bells and we were just like, oh, Europe. And then we kind of like, as we were moving closer and closer towards Milan, which was the final destination, the style of travel changed because we were no longer tourists. It was about me moving here, living here, and, you know, being in a city and having that realization of, hang on a minute, I'm not going to get on a flight and leave in a couple days. I'm actually staying here. So that was really exciting. But then equally for me, like I'd spent 4.5 weeks traveling with my mum full time. We were with each other for 24 hours of the day. So to go from that to then essentially her leaving and me being completely on my own was quite like an emotional mix-up, especially in the very first days of being in Milan, where it was all like exciting but overwhelming at the same time. And I mean, I remember distinctly crying into my bowl of pasta a couple days before she was going to leave. And I was just like, what am I going to do? I don't know anyone here. And I've talked to so many other people who were on exchange and they had very similar experiences. But yeah, just like, what do I do? I don't know anyone. And my mum was just like, it's okay, girl. Like, you're going to meet people at orientation. You'll be fine. Like, don't even you worry. You'll be basically like throwing me out the door. And I was like, no, that's not true. Fast forward 24 hours, I made this amazing group of friends and basically like was crying one night, went out with them the next night. And then the day later, I was like putting my mum on the train to the airport. And I was like, okay, bye, mum. I'm going to Venice with my new friends.
Oh, that must have been comforting though for you, Barbara, I'm sure.
It was, because Tyla came home from the orientation and she was like, oh, I met these great girls and I'm so excited for my exchange. And I was just so happy because, like, you know, literally the night before it was like, I can't believe you're leaving. I'll miss you so much. And I knew it would happen. She did put herself out there, like she introduced herself to people, and that's how she met people within a very short period of time. And then, you know, I met the girls. They all decided to go orientation week. Of course, there's parties. They decided that they would all go to the party. And Tyla had, her apartment was nearest the city's most central. So they all actually met at the apartment before they went out. So I got to meet all these lovely girls from all different countries. And then they went out to their party. Tyla was like, but what if I leave you at home? And I was like, no, you have to go out. You only get one orientation week. You only get one chance to do this. You have to do it. And I'll be fine. So, you know, I just sat there. I think I just Netflix, bought a glass of wine and off I was. And she did not get home till very, very late in the morning. And the funny thing was the next day, because this was my last day, I think Tyla got home at somewhere between 3 or 4 in the morning, wasn't it? And then my last day in Milan, we had planned to do Milan in a day. Duomo climb first up in the morning, coffee.
And we booked for like 9 o'clock or something, so I had about 4 hours sleep.
And then we finished with the Last Supper, and then we met the girls for aperitivo down in Navigli. And that was my final night. And at that aperitivo in Navigli, we were planning their trip to Venice.
Yeah.
And it's like, these girls had only literally met in the last, 36 hours.
Yeah, we knew each other for 3 days and then decided to go to Venice together for 3 days. So it was those are the things you do on exchange though, you know?
So it sounded like the university had some organised activities, and then you kind of like met some people from there. And did the university put some structure around how you would settle in?
Yeah, so the university I was at, Cattolica in Milan, actually did a fabulous job at organising like events for people to get together and meet. And then there's also the Erasmus network that organises a lot. Basically, every city that is a university city has like an Erasmus group that you can join and just get access to all these events. And being Milan, like there was a party and a get-together and a social activity every single night of the week, whereas I knew people from other cities in Europe and they didn't necessarily have that network. But for us, it was like we all went to orientation on the first day, and it was about a half day introduction, and everyone's kind of sitting around really nervous and no one's talking to each other because we're like, I don't know what to say. And it happened to me where I just kind of turned to the person next to me and was like, what's your name? And then we just started chatting, and then I was like, I'm really nervous, and then she said, I'm also really nervous, and then the person behind us was like, oh, me too. So like everyone's in that similar boat in terms of what the emotions they're going through and that sort of thing. So it is easy to make friends in those first days especially. But yeah, the activities, just go out and be part of them and meet people. You know, you're not going to love everyone, that's life, but you will make some amazing connections because you're all on this experience together, and it's a very unique time to form those friendships from all over the world.
Amazing. And did you do much studying, Tyler? Because I'm concerned that you were over there to do your university. So let's be serious here for a little bit.
If you ask my my home university, yes, I did.
Yeah.
She got the required points.
I got the required points. So for Australian students, we are on a pass-fail system. I know for a lot of Americans and any European students, their grades are counted and translated directly. Australian students are pass-fail, which is probably why we travel a lot when we're on exchange. But for me also, like, I did fun subjects. So I had used up all my required subjects, so I just had electives. There were other subjects, you know, finance, accounting, those more serious, strenuous subjects, whereas I was in subjects like Cooking 101 and Italian luxury and fashion, and I did a publishing. Like, these were all very fun and enjoyable subjects that required engagement and learning, but not necessarily strenuous study. Was it an academic experience? Yes, it was.
Cultural studies. What's your final degree? What's your degree?
So it's a Bachelor of Business in International Business, which I did not do any business when I was in Milan. I was too busy cooking and taste testing, which is a fantastic course.
But I remember when you were looking at subjects, in the beginning, Tyler was very serious about the subject choices. And I said to her, these are your electives. You've done everything you need to do. Balance it out with a couple of options. And when I saw the cooking and cultural class, I was like, oh my gosh, that would be amazing. You're in Italy. It's a cultural experience. So I think she kind of went, well, that's not a serious subject. But as it got closer, she changed her mind and did it. And honestly, I think, was that your favourite class?
Oh, it was the best. And you ask anyone who went to Cattolica and took that subject, it's like, it's the best subject.
Also, the applications closed really quickly on that subject, so everybody else had the same idea.
It's crazy. They opened and within 5 minutes the classes were full. So if you want it, you have to be in super quick.
Right. Well, that's a good tip. Like, I think it's really interesting, I think, as well, when we're in our early 20s and we're looking forward to a career, we get very serious about everything. And, you know, I love your story, Tyler, because just to relax a little bit and enjoy the ride, you're probably going to have more valuable experience for it. And I can say that, you know, I've known you for a while now, and I've just watched you blossom and just in your confidence and just what you're capable of doing is incredible. And I'm really proud of you as, you know, as your boss.
Thanks, Katie.
But also, you know, it's really great to see that for parents, you know, we've got a very academic family, but I really do think that it's really important to just take a step back, because you are taking on a lot when you're going overseas, especially to a country where they don't speak your language.
Definitely. The pressure can be immense. So I think that was the change in mindset. And my mum and I, we talked about this the whole time we were traveling through Italy. It was like, this is, you know, a very special time. Just enjoy it, just soak it up, because like everything else, it will pass and you'll get to the end and it'll all just be memories. So soak it up while you can, have fun, laugh, make mistakes, fall on your face, but get back up again. Yeah, it's just that incredible time for learning and growth and having fun.
Well, while you're on that, what are some of the mistakes that you made that others could probably learn from?
Oh, interesting question. I think in general, I did most things that I wouldn't change, but like, for instance, in Milan, accommodation is very, very difficult to come by. And so it's one of those things where, so you usually like, you have to organize your accommodation before you arrive in order to get the visa. But the thing with Italy is most things are offline. So in terms of finding accommodation, it's really, really difficult. So I think I ended up with a fantastic place. It was absolutely perfect, but the road to getting there was a bit stressful. And I think, had I had someone that I could have contacted or asked, or had I reached out to certain people, maybe it would have made that process a bit smoother. In fact, I had people who had gotten my name or my social media handles through the university page, because there was a reel that went out and I was tagged in it, and different places who were sending me messages being like, I see that you're on exchange in Milan, tell me what's the situation with housing. And so you only know what you know. So I think had I taken the initiative to maybe ask a few more people, it just would have made it a bit easier, that sort of thing.
Ah, the old ask the question.
Yeah.
It's so true, isn't it? Sometimes we think we have to figure everything out on our own, but there's usually someone that's done it before. Yeah, I'm surprised the university didn't offer much help in that regard.
No, that was the one thing in terms of Milan. I'm not sure if it's all universities in Italy, but my university particularly, because Milan is such a competitive housing market, and there's so many students, there's like 4 or 5 different universities in Milan. So you've got students, you've got business people, and of course being the economic hub of Italy, prices are just so much more than what you're going to find in other Italian cities as well. But yeah, no, the university was not particularly helpful in that. So that is something to be aware of and to get onto if you are thinking of going to Milan specifically.
Yeah, no, and I think there's different rental rules in Italy as well. And so some people might have arranged accommodation, which is probably going to make things a little bit easier for them. And I know our colleague, Olivia, she's done some study in Bologna and they provided accommodation as a homestay. So there's lots of different options. But I think if you're looking for straight out sort of medium-term rentals, it is a bit of a challenge. So I would get onto it early.
Yeah, and ask anyone that you can who's lived there before, or anyone who has a friend or a cousin who's lived there before, because just to have that insider knowledge. I knew people who showed up and didn't have housing, and then they only found housing through their, friends, roommates, cousins, brother, uncle who had an apartment that was free to let. Like that's Italy for you. That's how it works. You've got to know someone who knows someone who knows someone, and yeah, amazing magical things happen when you do that.
Just buy everyone a spritz and hope for the best.
Yeah, just network and get to know people and slip it into a conversation. I'm looking for a place or that sort of thing. And yeah, it's amazing what will happen.
Amazing. So for both of you, what were some of the highlights of the experience? Maybe, Barbara, you can say, you're watching it from a distance and you also had a little dip into the experience as well. What were your highlights?
Seeing Tyla just like literally grow up, and when I say see her, because we do talk each day and we do FaceTime each day, it was almost like she was here, because each day here at home, we'd have a conversation. And by having the chats daily, it was almost like while I'm sleeping, she's having this adventure or dealing with this issue or something. And then by the time I wake up, there's all these messages, and sometimes they were really good and really exciting because there were amazing things happening. And other times it was like a couple of times she got sick, and so she wasn't feeling so great. The weather was really grey or whatever, and that compounded. And it was like, okay, so we were managing that. So watching her navigate all of these things on her own on the other side of the world, and I think she handled it like a complete boss. I'm really, really proud of her. She hasn't lived away from home. She was planning to go earlier. COVID happened and that changed her plans. She handled that. And just to see her navigate this stuff and, being the parent of 4 children who are now all adults, I go, what is adulting? And it's just dealing with all the challenges that come up, isn't it? It's like whatever it is, when your kids are 2, that's a different challenge you're dealing with to when your kids are 20. And so when you're moving out on your own for the first time, what are the challenges that come up? Well, how does this oven work? Could be one of them. I've had the same issue in different Airbnb and places that I've stayed. Is like I'm standing there looking at the oven going, oh, I haven't seen one like this before. Is there a switch on the wall I don't know about? So you're just navigating the different challenges that pop up and watching Tyla navigate that on her own terms, really, because honestly, I have seen her colouring in maps of the world since she was little in primary school, and she has been determined to travel her whole life. So watching that happen for her, and she made it happen, honestly, couldn't be prouder.
And, I think it's so funny. It's so true about all these appliances. They always get you the appliances, don't they? There's nothing like an induction cooktop, and then you've got some pan that doesn't work on the on the induction, or
the washing machine. Oh my goodness, all the different washing machines and all the Airbnbs. And is there an instruction book? No. And if there is, it's in Italian. Okay. Thank goodness for the internet. Again, we're now looking up online how to operate this particular machine. It's like a life changer.
And I think, it sounds to me like the time difference actually worked in your favour, because if you hadn't been in the same time zone, you probably would have been figuring some stuff out for her, but because you weren't there, she had to do it herself.
Absolutely. And some of the messages came through like that. I would start reading the messages and it would be like, oh, drama, okay. And as I keep reading the messages, it's like, oh, she solved it. Yay. Now all I have to do is say, so proud of you, babe. Keep going.
She's like my sounding board. Like, I just send her the whole sequence of events, and there are some very entertaining stories in our chat thread, especially on travel days. Travel days always have the most crazy stories of just things going wrong and stuff coming up and happening, and yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. It's such a great bonding experience for you too, because you're part of it, but you're a little bit detached, and I think it's a beautiful thing.
Well, even on the weekends, because Tyla was going to classes, she was meeting people and then trying to, get to the grocery store and cook and things like that. So she'd tell me that, the girls and I are going to Portofino for the weekend, or we're going to Nice, or whatever it was. And I sitting at home, I'm coming home from work. I don't have girl chats here anymore because I'm in a house full of boys. And so I'm like, oh, I might just look up what's in Portofino. So I look up in Portofino and I go, oh, okay, the girls won't have time to find this because they're too busy doing their uni thing on the other side of the world. And it's like, oh, by the way, did you know about this and this? And here's a great blog post to read about that. And they would often read these messages while they were actually traveling to the location, and Tyla was like, great tips, mum, thank you so much.
She was like my mini travel agent, and every time, so once we kind of got acquainted as a group, they'd be like, so Tyla's planning the trip, I'll come. Because whenever I was organising like a trip somewhere, whether it be Lake Como or Turin or something like that, they knew that my mum was sending me these like emails with like tips and hints, and so we never missed the good stuff basically. And like having the most magical day on Lake Como and getting to go to like Villa Barmianello, which 100% would have missed, because as 20-something-year-olds we're just like, oh, we're here having fun, look at that building, ha ha ha, spritz. But you do miss those things. So to have my mum, who's much wiser in her years, is able to say like, oh, make sure you don't miss that and go check this out. And, this is the best cathedral, the best, place to be in this town or city. And it was amazing, like the things I saw. And then I'd take photos and I'd send them back to my mum and be like, amazing recommendation. And all my friends were like, oh, it's Tyla's mum, travel agent Barb, like she's making our trips happen for us. So yeah, it was great.
Well, yeah, I always think it's good to get a different perspective on things that you would like. I remember when I was traveling when I was your age, and yeah, like it was definitely a different style. So it's really amazing that you're open to those suggestions, Tyla, because not everyone would listen to their mum, but maybe that's the message of this podcast, is listen to your mum.
Yeah. I think we do have a very unique relationship. I mean, it's essentially, best friends. Sometimes we do slip into mum and daughter roles and we have to be like, okay, let's just, sort through that and get back to being best friends. But yeah, it is a very unique relationship. But it's what's allowed, our love for Italy to be shared between us. And I don't know, if it was me or her first, or, if we kind of both fell in love with it at the same time. But having that, actually, I think Italy has bonded us. Would you agree, Mum?
Yeah, definitely, because, I went to Rome for 3 days the first time in 2011, and I remember Tyla was like, oh, I so want to do that. And then, when it came to year 12, there was an amazing trip on offer at the school to go to New York, and I said to Tyla, well, you can do that trip, or we could go to Europe at the end of the year for your graduation. And she was like, right, that's it, I'm going to Europe. And, from that trip, and then, honestly, through the COVID lockdowns, Katie, I have to say thank you. What a lifesaver this podcast has been.
Thank you.
That really kept us going.
Oh, your podcast saved us, seriously.
No.
Every time a new episode came out, we'd be walking or bike riding around our usual circuit, and we'd stop at points and be like, oh, did you hear that? Did you get that tip? Where are you up to? Oh, excellent. I'm going to listen to another one now.
We'll note that for the next trip, because we had lots of time to plan, because we were going to travel in 2020, and, our trip was planned for July 2020, and I know you were traveling in March. We were wondering if it was going to get cancelled, and, as it got closer, yes, it all got cancelled and changed, and then we were in lockdown for so long, and it was like we had plenty of time then to work out what would we do on the next trip, what would it look like. And then when it came to being onto the exchange, it was like, well, that changed it too, because this wasn't just a let's go and see everything. This was like, well, let's go back to the places we really love and know, just check that it's all there and it's all okay after COVID, but also, let's see some new places, and then let's settle you into a new home, so to speak. And I honestly couldn't have been happier with our trip that we planned and the time that we took, because, like you mentioned, Australians travel a lot, and when we do go to Europe, we usually go for a long time. I took leave without pay to be able to do it, because a 2-week trip is just, it's a very long flight for 2 weeks. And so I took some leave without pay to be able to do it. And I just knew it was the right thing to do for Tyla, because again, you don't get your 20s back. You don't get to be 21 and traveling through Europe or on exchange again. And it was just like, this is too important. I'm now old enough to know you do not get these times back. So it's like, take them when you get them.
Yeah, 100%. Well done. I feel like this is I don't think this is a travel podcast today. I feel like it's about
Italy, but not about Italy.
Yeah, no, and it's really important, because the experiences that I've had in Italy have changed my life, and I know
I agree. Yeah,
the same for you, and in the most positive and amazing ways. So let's wrap it up by, do you want to share a couple of tips for parents whose children are thinking of studying abroad, Barbara? And then we'll throw over to you, Tyla, and you can give your perspective.
I would say be really interested in what the kids are doing subject-wise, because I think that was really important for us to have some chats, because I do know Tyla was leaning more towards all businessy type subjects, whereas I was very much of the mindset, like I just said, you don't get your 20s back. And these are electives, so, enjoy the experience, because it is a short period of time. It might feel like a long period of time when you're initially looking at whether it's a semester or even a year, but when you do look back, it will not be a long time. So, take the time to understand what the kids are studying and get involved. For me personally, I think the best thing I did was be engaged with, what are you girls planning to do next? And they change their mind. Sometimes they would say, oh, we're looking at going here. And then, I'd go off and excitedly, look at that location. And then they go, oh, no, we've decided to go here. And I go, that's okay, because now I know all of this stuff about this location. And it's like, okay, now I'll go and, look up the next location. And so I had so much fun doing that. And it helped me when Tyla would say, oh, we did this. It wasn't just like they were off doing stuff I didn't know about. I almost felt like I was there in some way. So because I did that research for the girls, which was to help them out, honestly, it made me feel so connected to what they were doing. And I think that was a real game changer for me, and has really allowed me to be away from my girl for so long without missing her too badly.
Yeah, amazing. I think it's so hard to let go, I think, and it sounds like you've done this in the most elegant and just, gentle way, but it just is supporting Tyla with her dreams, which she's had from a very young age, and is so fiercely determined to get there and experience it. How about you, Tyla? What are some of the things you would suggest?
I would just say that, if your dream is to go on exchange and to travel, just make it happen. there are so many ways that you can make it happen, and just like talk to people about it, ask questions about it, go to your university department for international studies or study abroad and ask the questions, because you may think that it's not possible, but there are so many ways that you can make it possible. Also, when you're on exchange, like, just live in the present, soak up every moment, because, I remember being there and having those times of like, this is all going to be over soon. Like, everything is going to be over. But right now I'm here in this moment. Put yourself out there, make friends, go have amazing trips away and experiences, and just savor it, really. I mean, like, it's amazing how fast the time has gone. But yeah, if I think back to a very specific day or a very specific event or thing we did, I remember just being so present and just soaking it all up. So just do it, number one, and two, just enjoy it. Basically, it's amazing, and you'll never have a period of time like that in your life again. There's a reason why people who go on study abroad never stop talking about study abroad, because it truly is such a unique and defining moment in your transition into adulthood and whatever you do afterwards. And that's the other thing, you never know what doors will open through what experiences you have. And I don't think I would be here right now had I not gone on exchange, had I not gone to Italy. And yeah.
So for everyone that's listening, Tyla finished her course, didn't you? And then she just was like, I'm not going home.
Yeah.
So she's currently doing the Schengen visa hop around Europe, aren't you? And good for you, Tyla. It's amazing. Now, Tyla and Barbara, if people want to reach out to you with questions, because, like I can imagine there's a few people with questions out there about your experience, would that be okay? And if so, how can they go about doing that?
Yeah, so absolutely. I'm always happy to answer questions and give out advice, especially when it's related to Italy, exchange, living in Milan, travel, that sort of thing. So for me, the best place to contact me would be through my Instagram. So at Tyla, Tyla, JCG is my handle, and would love to help anyone out with the experience of just going on exchange and going to Italy.
That's what I love about you. Tyla is so open to new experiences and new people. It's and it's an absolute credit to you, Barbara, to be honest, because she's delightful.
Thank you.
And I'll never forget that evening we went around Rome on the Vespa. It was fun, wasn't it?
An absolute highlight of my time in Italy. So special.
Oh, so grazie mille, Tyla and Barbara. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast today and sharing this inspirational story. I do hope it inspires other people to just go, yes, I'm going to Italy, and have the most amazing times that you have.
Thank you, Katie. Thanks for everything you do.
Thank you, Katie. Loved it. It's been so good.
Oh, grazie mille.
Ciao, ciao.
Wow, what an adventure. Tyla and her family come from a remote city in Australia, which in a lot of respects could not be more different than her experiences in Italy. But as you heard, she is a very determined young woman. No doubt the study abroad experience in Milan has been an absolute joy and an incredible time for her, and one she'll never forget. I recently read an article by a young woman who, unlike Tyla, did not seem to enjoy her study abroad experience in Florence. And what I noticed was that perhaps she didn't seem to have a support network or the right research and plan to make the time in Italy successful. If you know families considering this option, I would love you to share this episode and the show notes with them. Tyla and Barbara have such a positive attitude, and they wanted to share their story to help others be more comfortable helping their own young people have a similar experience. All the sites and places that they mentioned are in the show notes at untolditaly.com/178, so you can find details of the services that they mentioned there. And there's absolutely no doubt in my mind that if my children want to study abroad when they're older, they'll get all my support, especially if they decide to study in Italy. Now that would be handy, wouldn't it? I wanted to end this episode by letting you know how many doors the Study Abroad program has opened for Tyla. Before she went to Milan, Tyla was part of the Untold Italy team, helping to moderate our Italy travel planning community on Facebook. Now she's taken a big step up and is looking after our social and media accounts from Europe, where she's maximising her stay in Italy on the 90-day Schengen visa and moving to non-Schengen countries as required. I'm so very proud of her and absolutely respect her determination to learn Italian, travel the country and meet new people and have an open mind to new experiences. Brava, Tyla. You're such a wonderful inspiration to so many young people and myself. Thank you, grazie to all our wonderful listeners for your ongoing support of Untold Italy. I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you did, then it would be amazing if you gave us a rating or review in your favourite podcast app. If you're using Apple Podcasts, then you need to go to the show page for Untold Italy, not the episode page, and scroll down until you see ratings and reviews. You can leave your 5-star review and message there. We love to read them. On next week's episode, we're talking about sparkling Italian wine, and I don't mind telling you that's a favourite topic of mine. But until then, it's ciao for now.
The Untold Italy podcast is an independent production. Podcast editing, audio production and website development by Mark Hatter, production assistance and content writing by the other Katie Clark. Yes, there are 2 of us. For more information about Untold Italy, please visit untolditaly.com.